Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy, CJ Vogel. And we're here to talk tons of Texas football. All right, so you know how it works. You guys can drive the show any direction you want to. We'll answer all your questions. We'll address any comments you may have, super chats. Jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. What's up, Tyler? Appreciate all you guys joining us from wherever you guys are joining us from. We know everybody's hyped about 48 hours from the big matchup coming up versus Ohio State. So when I start to get, hopefully them butterflies, hopefully it's not bubble guts. We'll talk about that, Texas, Ohio State. Also, there is a bit of a recruiting nugget or maybe a recruiting discussion, some recruiting talk we'll get into, and that's why CJ Vogel is always our man in the know when it comes to recruiting, so we'll throw it to him for that. But, of course, all of this is about whatever you guys want to talk about, so we'll get into that coming up. We will have we'll get into a discussion I want to talk about here from a tweet from Matt Miller, who's really a great draft analyst, and I know it's not draft season yet, but he had a tweet about how much talent is going to be on the field for that Texas Ohio State game, and I think it's really intriguing. So we'll dive into that too. All right, CJ, are you in Dallas already? You made your way up already, or where you at?
We made the trip already up to Dallas. I got in around probably 1 o'clock or so today. Had to beat the ice, the snow, the rain, whatever's coming over the next couple of 48 hours or so. But I'm up here in Dallas, and the team also up here in Dallas today. They arrived around 4:30 today. They're staying up in Grapevine, I believe, the Gaylord Texans. So right up there, Rod. I don't know if you've ever been up there, but for folks who have been to the Gaylord Texans, beautiful hotel, nice. Crazy resort. So that's exactly where the team's staying for the week, of course, and then they'll get a walkthrough on the field tomorrow, and then obviously the game on Friday night.
I've been around there back in my day, no doubt about it. But excited, glad you made it up safe. Anybody else who was traveling, everything was good trip wise? Everything was fine.
Smooth. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it took me 3 hours flat to get up here. I mean, normally a pretty good time. So I was shocked that it wasn't more crowded. I'll say so.
Yeah,
lucky for me.
I know a lot of people concerned about the weather. So if you are making the trip, please make sure you're safe. I hope everybody makes it safe. Todd Lacey says Gaylord is my favorite place to stay. Amazing. There you go. See, Todd Lacey doing it big there. All right, we'll get into some of your questions. But how about this tweet, though, just really quick from Matt Miller. Saw this actually yesterday. He tweeted out Texas and Ohio State. He said they're going to have 21 players based on his rankings. Ranked in the top 3 rounds combined on these two teams when they match up on Friday. 21 players. He said 11 from Ohio State and 10 from Texas that he has with first top 3 round grades. He's got them with grades that should have them in the top 3 rounds of the NFL draft. That's a ton of talent on the field at one time.
Yeah, it is.
That's a testament to what Sark has built. But also, man, it does show you what a Herculean task is ahead of the Longhorns here, because they haven't faced many teams that have talent, that talent that is comparable to what they have on the roster. Georgia is in that conversation, of course, but there's no question about it that Ohio State may have more talent than Texas has on its roster.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say Texas hasn't faced a team that has as much balanced talent as Ohio State. And, I say that as Ohio State's got safeties. They've got edges. They've got wide receivers, running backs. The offensive line has some pieces. Oh, and they've got a quarterback to top that off, right? When you talk about Georgia and the issues Texas had from the Bulldogs is, well, that was all the same case, but the quarterback position wasn't playing at high level for Georgia. And yet Texas still struggled offensively to get points on the board in the red area, able to string together drives. Not Ohio State right now, and I think that's the biggest point. But Rod, to Matt Miller tweet, 21 out of the 96 or 105, depending on compensatory picks or whatnot. That's 20% of the draft in the first 2 days coming from Ohio State, Texas. I said it earlier in the week, and I'll say it again. Winner of this game is winning it all. No doubt in my mind. Penn State, Notre Dame, they talented football teams, top 4 teams in the country, evidently. They don't have the firepower offensively. They don't have the quarterbacks. They don't have the game changers that Texas and Ohio State both have on the offensive side of the ball. Defenses everywhere are good, but the two teams playing in Dallas on Friday, that's who's winning it all.
Oh man, that I kind of feel like that too. The momentum they're going to have, because if it's Texas, they pull off the upset, and then you can beat Ohio State. That's the hottest team and the best looking team right now in the postseason. You beat them, I'm with you. I think all the momentum kind of goes to you. You monopolize it, and if Ohio State continues to look good and beat Texas, they're going to have to look good to beat Texas, because Texas is a damn good team. I'm with you. It's hard for me to think that a Notre Dame or a Penn State would be able to outshine them on a big stage. I'm finding ways for Texas to outshine them, and that's still tough. And I've watched this Texas team all year. All right, let's thank our sponsor before we move on here. Let's thank our friends over at Duck Camp, because Duck Camp sponsoring all of this week's live shows as we preview that matchup between Texas and Ohio State in the college football playoff. Duck Camp produces premium outdoor goods for the outdoor spirit in each and every one of us. They are dedicated to providing the best outdoor goods so you can outdoor good, whether you're an avid hunter or a fisherman, or you prefer, like me, to hang out around the campsite, or prefer the camaraderie of the campfire. Our friends over at Duck Camp, they have great goods. Matter of fact, I'm wearing a Duck Camp hoodie right now. This is Duck Camp right here. Boom. And I got my Duck Camp hat on. All right. Always represent Duck Camp. It's great gear. You can go check it out at duckcamp.com. They have their new fall selection out as well. They do have a color very close to burnt orange. I talk about that all the time. It's really, really close. I wear it and people think that it's Longhorn gear. That's how close it is to burnt orange. So go check it out for yourself. Duckcamp.com. And thank you for sponsoring all of this week's live shows as we preview the college football playoff matchup between Texas and Ohio State. All right, let's get to some questions, and then we'll get to a recruiting nugget from my man CJ here. But let's get to a couple of questions here. How about this one? Christo Driscoll says, I may have missed them. What are your predictions for the game? Literally had a nightmare last night. We were tired after the first half and then lost it in the third quarter. Oh, Christo, that dreaded third quarter. Listen, I am afraid of what's going to happen in that third quarter. I'm not going to lie to you. I really do. Because, first of all, I'm afraid of how the game's going to start, because Ohio State starts have been just ridiculous. I mean, their starts, was it 21 points and 17 points they scored in the first quarters of their first playoff games. That's scary. So Texas got to withstand that start, but then I'm with you. I don't know what's going to happen in the third quarter. I'm just going to pray. What about you, CJ?
I feel like that's every Texas fan doing the exact same thing. Is just, oh man, just hope this is the fastest 15 minutes of the entire game, because it's been ugly, right? And for Texas offensively, there hasn't been any real consistent success in that period, and it's frustrating, right? So I've said the first quarter actually is the most important quarter for this matchup against Ohio State, just making sure that they don't get out too much of a lead, right? You got to stay up there, kind of weather the scores, weather the drives, and then move on from there. But right now, I mean, that third quarter is sitting there neck and neck, right? And it's concerning, 100%. I can't lie about it.
Yeah, and I have not given predictions for the game. I'm sure that on maybe tomorrow or something that'll happen at one point. I have not given a prediction on the game yet. I don't know if I'm ready to give my prediction yet. I find new stuff every day, but I'll admit that it is for Texas in this game. There's some things that I think I can predict that'll happen in the game, but I just haven't predicted how the game is going to play out. I do believe that they'll be able to limit Texas' run game. That's one of the things I think is going to happen. Like, that's one of my predictions. That doesn't mean that Texas is going to lose the game, but I don't know if Texas is going to be able to run the ball, because I don't know if they find their identity in the run game in this matchup. I don't know if that happens, because Ohio State's really good at stopping the bread and butter concept of Texas, which is the wide zone. You're getting your two tackles, but you finally got your bookend tackles. By the way, we were just talking about the draft. Texas, based on draft projections, may have the best tackle combo in the country. And now you finally got them back healthy. Does that help you kind of spark your obviously your outside zone concepts? That's something. So I do think they'll limit. That's why I expect Sark to come in with contingency plans to boost the passing game and to have different ways to either boost the run game or just another extension of the run game, like the short, quick passing game. Isaiah Bond being back is big for the running game, in my opinion, a little bit, just because he adds that element of the wide receiver. He's the wide receiver with twitch if he is close to 100%, which we don't know. It gives you twitch on those wide receiver screens, which are essentially extension game too. So that's one of the predictions I think I'm comfortable making based on the research in the end.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested to see how they use Isaiah Bond because he was healthy against Arizona State, and I believe he only played about 25 snaps.
Okay.
I don't know if that's Texas just going another direction or Texas hoping to save any type of tweak or whatnot for Ohio State, maybe give them those extra couple of days in between to get back to 100%. I was told that he's close to it. So we'll see. But right now, I would expect a lot of Matthew Golden. And, I put that tweet out earlier today that, Texas needs to put him in that 13 to 15 target range. Go through your best football player offensively, and that's Matthew Golden. And then I think you're going to see a lot of Gunnar Helm and a lot of Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore. I think that's going to be the core that you see. I would actually be a little surprised if we saw a lot of Isaiah Bond in the game plan. And again, I just mentioned that he was healthy. I feel like we would have saw him a little bit more last week. And so we'll see, and to your point, Rod, Texas has to find a way to get an extension of the run game going. Is that going to be the wide receiver screens? I think that you'd like to see that, right, with the physical guy of DeAndre Moore, the big body of a Ryan Wingo. That would allow for a Matthew Golden or a Jaden Blue or a Trey Wisner out of the backfield to create after the catch. But I'll ask you this because you've watched enough of Ohio State. You've watched both Georgia games. Texas struggles going east to west against the Georgia defense with that speed. I feel like Ohio State is going to be very much of the same, but we've also talked about how much that pass rush will be able to kind of threaten the Longhorn offense. A good screen game can neutralize a pass rush because now their head's on a swivel. Where are the offensive line going? Where's the running back going? Can I actually go all the way upfield before turning around and having to go chase down a ball carrier? Yeah. Have you seen areas of success that Texas can maybe exploit in the screen game or the quick game, or is that speed of Ohio State going to pose that much of an issue again?
That's interesting because against Georgia, I think Sark learned that lesson in the first matchup. And what he did in the second matchup was had a lot of concepts where their speed and aggression worked against him. Like double moves. A lot of things that were a lot of different kind of multi-motion plays that put guys in motion, a lot of misdirection. He had a lot of targets to motion in that game because he was basically trying to find out when they were troubleshooting, finding out when they were in man coverage, and they were in man coverage. He's like, all right, this is great. I just need to find out, who's on who, and then find the matchup I like. And then I can put that guy in motion based on the formation. And there were a lot of targets to motion. I think they had, if I'm not mistaken, there were like 10 targets to motion in that game, something like that. I mean, it was a lot. He figured out in the second matchup. So I think using their aggression, their speed against them, how can you do that? And I think Sark did a good job of that in the second matchup with Georgia.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe that's something you can do in this matchup too. They're going to be quick, fast on their keys, right? They're going to be overly aggressive on their keys. Maybe you can use that against them.
While you're going off of about kind of the quickness in that second Georgia game, Rod, I actually did look it up. 5.8 was the average distance of target in the first game. 8.7 was the average distance of target in the SEC championship game, both against Georgia. But you see the 3-yard average increase of target. Texas did have success going down the field against Georgia in that same game. So I'm with you. And I do think that Texas will have to find those splash chunk plays through the air, whether that be a catch and run, whether that be a quick game with Jaden Blue out of the backfield somewhere, or just taking the deep shot. Because, look, you've seen Matthew Golden win a big play down the field in every single game since A&M, basically, right? He had A&M. He had a Georgia with the jump ball 50-50. He had a big one against Clemson. Obviously, you talk about how big of a game he had against Arizona State. He's your big play threat right now, and it's coming in all levels of the field. But you also got Ryan Wingo on the opposite side, who first half of the season, we've talked about it, he was a big play waiting to happen. You're going to have some sort of big chunk plays consistently through the air for me because, again, that side-to-side, that quick throws, it's either going to have to catch Georgia completely off guard on a zero blitz or something like that.
Yep.
They're just too fast otherwise.
Yep. Well, I agree with you on that. Josh here with a question. Chat. Do y'all think Manny Muhammad has talked to his cousin Jabbar Muhammad about Ohio State already? Yeah, because he's the corner from Oregon, right?
Yep.
That's fam. That's kinfolk there. I hope he would. I would hope that you would exhaust every resource possible, all right, to try to figure out what you can about, the scouting report and get you some type of advantage. But, hey, nothing's going to replace watching the film. I do think they'll test Manny Muhammad. I think they're coming after Manny. They're coming after Manny. They're coming after Gilbo, period.
I agree.
Period.
I look, it's not going to be an easy day for anybody in that secondary. And, there's been success teams have had in the playoffs already going after him. It'll be interesting to see, is there a safety over the top of him a little bit more? Does Texas shade him, or does he follow a Carnell Tate or a Emeka Egbuka? We'll see. But I agree, Rod. That's someone that I think Texas will have to maybe protect a little bit more at the corner spot.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can't wait to see what PK and Johnny Nansen come up with. Can't wait to see what it is. I know that it's got to be something. They can't just – Texas is really good. I mean, this might be the best defense in the country. Only other defense, honestly, that may lay claims to that is Ohio State's defense because it's just that good. But I think there will be a wrinkle because there are too many problems presented by Ohio State's offense. It's just too many. Too many. Jeremiah Smith is one, and Egbuka is another one. The running backs now another one. Will Howard is another one. You got to have something, and I wonder exactly where it'll be. But you better have a plan for those two wide receivers because they're going after. I might let Janae Barron just say, "Listen, man, you are the Thorpe Award winner. You're the best defensive back in the country. You're not going to have as much help in this game as you usually would. Yeah, we're going to play our match zone." But we're playing a match zone with intent. All right. And it's a match zone with a premeditated intent, which is to take away their two best weapons. So we're going to be having special eyes on them. And honestly, that means you might get less help. Now, if you end up on, Jeremiah Smith, then we may decide, hey, we'll take our chances and we'll still give you help there. But I do think they need a plan for both of those guys.
I totally agree.
Ryan says, I'm assuming Sark rumors are nothing but smoke, but are there any coaches we should be concerned about leaving? Nansen, Choice, would love to keep the whole staff.
That's a good question.
What are your thoughts about CJ? Yeah, because that happens to successful teams, right? It's a successful team.
Yeah, no, that's a really fair question. I remember what Sarkisian said. I believe the signing day press conference of last year, maybe it was the February signing day press conference. He said, look, staff, retention has been a really key part of my tenure here. And every coach that has been on my staff for 2023/4, right, for that Washington game in the Sugar Bowl, said every single one of them was offered a job somewhere else, whether it be a pay raise, whether it be a change in title, whatever it was. He did say that, and that stood out to me because you only lost, two or three over the last 3 years, right? Stan Drayton's taken the Temple job. Jeff Choate's now at Nevada. Other than that, you really haven't seen a whole lot of departures. Bo Davis went back to LSU. Obviously, that was a big loss at the time. But for the most part, when you're playing football and you're coaching football at a program that can kind of piece things together consistently like this, why would you not want to hire somebody from this staff, right? They're a part of that winning culture, that winning program that's flipped around a 5-8 team to now back-to-back top 4 programs. I do think teams will and programs around the country will come calling for Texas head coaches, Texas assistant coaches. But so far, they've done a really good job of keeping them all together. And I do think Sarkisian, Chris Del Conte, they're going to fight for their guys to stay here because they got a good thing going.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that too. And I mean, Austin's a great place to live. Your family also is a big part of that. And hey, man, the families I'm sure like living in the city of Austin. Thank you for that question, Ryan. Let's go to Loba Bread. Says, Rod, was there ever a time when you were playing and had the national media condemning y'all before the game like this game? It's tough because we didn't have social media then, so I didn't really have access to. I wasn't looking up lines and who was favored and that kind of stuff. I do believe after Oklahoma won the national title in 2000, I remember they whipped us in 2000. It was a blowout. I mean, they put it on us, Old Testament style butt whipping. I do believe, I don't know if they were a heavy favorite. They definitely were favored in that game. That might have been one. We played Oregon in a bowl game. Joey Harrington was like the quarterback or something. I feel like then we were also an underdog in that game too. That feels like that was the case. I'm like, we weren't an underdog very often. Like it just didn't happen very often. Where Texas was Nebraska, maybe in '99. Maybe Nebraska 99. Mac Brown had just gotten there. It was like his second year. And Nebraska at that time was still, winning national titles and competing for national titles. So maybe Nebraska. But Mac always beat Nebraska.
Yeah.
Man, Mac had Nebraska's number. Even when Texas was bad. Remember in 2010, they still beat Nebraska. Like, how the hell did that team beat Nebraska? Like, that team was terrible. Beat Nebraska. Sometimes you just have a team's
number.
Yeah, you just have the number. We got a super chat here. I apologize, Katie. I did not see it. Says, do we have Tony Hill giving a halftime pep speech in regards to the third quarter issues? I don't know what. That's a great point. Is there a speech? And maybe there should be one. Maybe there needs to be. Maybe that needs to be a speech. Maybe it's a leader on the team, a player that you trust. Maybe it's the coach who's got that type of ability. All right, somebody who has got that kind of spark to motivate, plus a little joy mode. But right. I think we at this point I'd try anything because it's clear. And like I said, Stark's really good at solving problems. I would say coaches are just problem solvers. He's good at solving problems. I give him a lot of credit for that. He's had some issues. Texas pass defense was terrible last year. Now you're the best pass defense in the country. Red zone was a big issue last year. And all throughout the season this year, not so much. He's got to fix his third quarter woes, and he doesn't have the solution this year. I don't think he's fixed it in these 8 days. I doubt it very seriously. I think your third quarter is still gonna be an issue. That's just the reality of what this. It's been the last 6 games, so I can't. Why would I assume now? It's half the season,
right?
Close to half the season, your third quarters have been bad. Why am I to assume that's going to change versus the best defense you played?
Yeah, look back to the original super chat. I don't think Texas will need any type of extra motivation, right? They know what's at stake. They're a Final Four team in the country. They're playing in the state of Texas, right? They're going to be up for this game, and they've been up for games throughout the season, right? Michigan was a big one. Texas OU, Rod, if you come into that game flat, you're going to get whooped. Both Georgia games, obviously, neither of them went their direction, but early on, you sense that a team wants to be there. This will be a game that very much is the same. Now, I would say, and to the point you were making, save that big motivational speech for maybe at halftime. You got 30 minutes for the rest of your lives, right?
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Go all the way out. Make sure that they come out firing in the third quarter because, again, it's not been pretty.
Not even pretty. Not at all. All right, let's thank another one of our sponsors before we continue here. Our friend Dr. Brett Robin, my former teammate, speaking of 99 and back in the day, my former teammate, Brett Robin, who's now one of the best orthopedic surgeons out there, orthopedic specialist out there. He's fantastic, folks. Dr. Robin, a former Longhorn running back, number 25 for you. He knows what it takes to stay in the game, and he's here for athletes of all ages. Specializing in musculoskeletal health, Dr. Robin treats joint pain and injuries with a conservative approach first, but also offers advanced surgical options, including arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, and total joint replacements with convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen. Dr. Robin is accepting new patients right now. And if you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic specialist, give Dr. Robin a call at 512-856-1000. That's 856-1000 and get back to your active lifestyle and doing what you love. Yeah, after football season, I'm not joking. I'm actually going to go see Dr. Red Robert. My shoulder is just been, oh, man, it's brutal. But I did have 3 shoulder surgeries on that shoulder, so that happens. All right, let's get to Justin. Thank you, Justin, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. I think both games versus Georgia helped Sark and the team better prepare for Ohio State. And I think the team will be dialed in after not a great overall performance last week. Yeah, that was I think the blessing coming out of Arizona State game. You know Texas is a better team than they played versus Arizona State, no doubt about it. Defense got exposed because it was on the field too long, right? Fatigue makes cowards of us all. But now that team was dialed and focused, and they got the underdog thing working. I imagine this was one of the most focused weeks of prep and practice preparation they've had all year long, because they haven't been able to, use those elements as motivation. Underdog and coming off a bad game. So the coaches coaching them up. I agree with you, Justin. I think you'll get at least the start of the game. You'll get the best from Texas, especially defensively. Yes. Defensively, they just weren't used to that, CJ.
And I think one of the interesting things that we could maybe take a first kind of conclusion from for this 2024 season specifically, with the 12-team playoff, Texas is going to be playing its 16th game, Rod. For most head coaches, right, the best, way to become a good head coach is through experience, through playing and coaching time and time again, being in different situations against different opponents. What do you do when this happens? What do you do when this happens, when you don't have a kicker versus your offense in a rut versus your defense is good? Do you punt? Do you go? Whatever. Texas has now been in a position where they've been losing games twice, right? Georgia, both games. They've been losing late in situations. How do you overcome that? A quick start in which you didn't have a great first half against Georgia in the first game versus, okay, what can you do when you're kind of nursing a lead? And now you've had an extra opportunity to find solutions against Arizona State. Sark's been able to have basically a season and a half, right, in terms of coaching this entire season. What can he do on the fly? What can he do to make adjustments when X and Y happens? I think that's really interesting, because those 2 Georgia games, most teams would have had to wait 2 years to play Georgia twice, right? Sometimes you don't play Georgia or an Alabama team at all, right? Look at A&M this year. They didn't do it either. So I think being able to be in those situations for an extended season like this, I don't know if Sark's was necessarily ready coming into the season, but hey, maybe those 2 games maybe taught him, or maybe he picked up on something that he could relay off of something, one of his coordinators or something, because of the extra games that they've played. That's an interesting kind of loophole or, tidbit this year that I don't think we've ever kind of navigated before.
No, and that's a great point, CJ, in terms of how this is pushing Sark to evolve and grow, right, as a coach. And he did learn a lot in those Georgia games. I kind of watched some of the adjustments that he made. He has had to, because of those very competitive games down the stretch, he's had to exhaust his playbook.
Yeah.
I mean, he's shown a lot of plays because, hey, against Arizona State, it's down to the wire in overtime. Same thing against Georgia in the SEC title game. When you're blowing out opponents, you don't show a lot of plays. It's like, no, I'm blowing them out. Though we're up big. Hey, I start to close off my playbook a little bit. I don't need to show that. I don't need to show teams this specific concept or this formation or personnel grouping that I've been saving. And coaches, they do save plays for big occasions. They do, and they come up with plays for big occasions. Can't wait to see what Sark comes up with, because he knows this is the biggest game that he's ever coached in, and he knows that I don't know if he's had to deal with being an underdog like this since they've started the run. I think the last time they were an underdog like this, maybe Alabama in 2022, something like that, right? They were 20-something point underdog, but
yeah.
Not everybody, because not us, but the majority of folks out there analyzing this matchup are saying Texas is outmatched. And it's interesting to see what Sark comes up with as the underdog. If it gets his creative juices flowing. Because like I said, I think he has had to exhaust a lot of his playbook. Down to, like you said, 16 games now. It's a lot of coaches ain't got that much in the bag. We'll see how big the bag is for Sark, man. We'll see.
They're just going 5 wide every snap, Rod. They got nothing else.
You know I'm all about empty. You know I love empty formation. Don't get me started, CJ. Jefferson Clay says, Rod, so cool to run into you at Trail of Lights. Yes, Jeff, that was awesome the other night.
That's sweet.
What offensive packages have worked well against 3 high in the past for Texas? Glad you asked. I have some numbers here. I'll just throw them out there to you. All right, here we go. You guys know how I've been keeping up with this for a while. So the number one thing that I think works well, and it has worked in the past, but Sark doesn't use it this season, so maybe he'll break tendency and break it out, is the Big 11, Big 12 package. I think that he used it in the Big 12, now the Big 12's different ecosystem, specifically to exploit the 3 high, which he saw half the teams you played in the Big 12 were running 3 high coverages, and it was their defensive identity. They majored or minored in it. So the 6 O-line package, Big 11, Big 12, with the extra offensive lineman. Last year it was Malik Agbo versus 3 high teams. All right, I just looked at the numbers in this package versus teams that played the 3 high, not specific situations, so not down to down. But in 2023 versus 3 high, over 5 yards per rush in the 6 O-line package, over 11 yards per attempt throwing the football, 8 yards per play in your 6 O-line package. That's pretty damn good. I looked at, he runs quads, and I went back and looked at my notes from last year where you're talking about K-State, TCU, Iowa State, and a lot of teams that are running the 3 high from last year. He would run a quads, put all of his skill players on one side, cover up the tight ends and these really extreme unbalanced sets. And versus 3 high out of those sets, and he only really used it versus teams that ran the 3 high. So my thing was it had to be something he came up with as an antidote for it. 73% completion percentage, 9 yards per attempt, over 6 yards per rush. I'll take it. Pony package versus the 3 high. Yeah, I mean, I love the pony package for 3 high. It works versus everything though. That's so I don't know if it's just for 3 high. 6 yards per rush. You're over 12 yards per attempt. Your completion percentage is low, but you're still getting the yard. You're getting the plays downfield. And I would run empty formation versus Ohio State. And then find the matchup that you like. And empty formation, just throw it out there for Quinn because I don't know what's going on, but Quinn in the last 4 games in empty formation, over 90% completion percentage, 13 yards per attempt. Your explosive play rate is hovering at 30%. It is freaky. So there you go in a nutshell. And we go over in our preview as well with my man CJ. So thank you, Jefferson. Great to meet you too, brother. We appreciate that. All right, Clay K. Oh, Clay, we appreciate. You know what, Clay? I usually wait for triple digits to put it on.
Come on.
I'm gonna do it for Clay because Clay's showing up. We're gonna put it on Clay. There you go. We got 48 hours before the game. So thank you, Clay, for the super chat. I appreciate that, brother. Means a lot. There you go. All right, says, bye, guys. Quinn has seemed awfully loose in media availability this week. I think we see him let it fly like Alabama in 2023, Michigan this season as well. Let's go. You guys are the best in the business. Thanks for all you do. Listen, CJ, if Quinn picks up where he left off last 5 minutes of regulation and double overtime, that Texas gonna win this damn game and they're gonna win the national title. That's if that's a big if though.
That is a big if. And look, it's not just gonna be Quinn that has to come out and play, very quickly from the start, right? The tackle's got to be there. The offensive line has to prepare. You got to create, lanes and space down the field. But look, if you're able to get Quinn Ewers into that little rhythm that we've seen sporadically throughout the season, right? Normally it kind of comes in like a 2 to 3 possession stretch in the second quarter. But if he's able to get that for a full half or maybe, the entire game, fingers crossed, right? My goodness, would that be some sort of conclusion to his career at Texas to go knock off Ohio State, go play for a national championship? That would be something. But, man, did he look good in that final, 3 or 4 possessions against Arizona State.
And his former team, too. Think about the drama of that, man. That would show he got that dog in him. Come on, Quinn. I know you got that dog in you. Let's thank our friends over at Hard Grove Roofing. Hard Grove Roofing, folks, with offices all over Louisiana, Arkansas, and, of course, the great state of Texas, including Austin, Texas. Hardcore Roofing will take care of all of your roofing needs. Plus, they're Longhorn friendly with partners like our lifetime Longhorn, Bert Auburn, and former defensive tackle, my former teammate, lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee. They're the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. Call them today for a free roof inspection. You can see the number right there, 512-645-3202, or you can reach out to them online at hardgroveroofing.com. We really appreciate our friends over at Hard Grove Roofing for being a sponsor here at On Texas Football and being a sponsor of our Wednesday night live stream. And thank you, Clay K. I appreciate that. You know, I'm so damn comfortable in this helmet. That's years of, I can wear this thing, and honestly, it does not feel any different than it did when I was in my prime. It's amazing how this thing still fits.
The head hasn't shrunk at all. That's a good sign.
I was gonna say, like, it's just, you know, I don't know, my head. I guess you're right. I guess if it did fit differently, then I got some big issues. All right, Rasmus X said, stepped away, came back, and Rod B is chin strapped up. Hey, it's 48 hours before the game. I mean, Clay K got me hyped with a nice super chat, so I'm putting it on. All right, let's get back to the questions here. Lori Tex Gal 58. Thank you for the question. Do you think we can stop Ohio State's run game? Ooh, CJ. Can we stop the Ohio State run game, which has gone off in the last 2 games?
Yeah, it has. It feels like, you know, that offensive line, which has dealt with a lot of injuries, has found its rhythm. You know, the way that Texas, it appeared towards the end of the season, had found its rhythm, right? You know, you look at Arkansas, Texas A&M, you know, Clemson, the three out of 4 game stretch right there where they were running for about 250 a game. It felt like they had found that. Now, Texas obviously will need to get back to it, but Ohio State, you know, and it's easy, right? When you got that level of running back for Ohio State. Judkins, Henderson, 2 of the best running backs, probably the best running back tandem in all the country. You know, you just need a sliver. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see how Texas, you know, kind of goes about defending that. Is the light box going to be enough? Do you keep 6 in the box? Do you slide down a safety or a big nickel? We'll see, but I have to imagine you defend the pass first. You kind of play that bend but don't break. Force Will Howard to punch it in the red zone the way that he really hasn't ever been able to do consistently against Texas during his career. So we'll see. But right now, I think Texas will limit the run game enough. And if that's the case, look, that offense for Ohio State has very much the same issues Texas has when it comes to if they can't run the football, that offense gets very stale. They get very stagnant, right? You look at it against Nebraska, Penn State, Michigan especially. If you can't run the football, or if Ohio State kind of gets into that kind of mode where they just want to completely out-physical you instead of going over the top and using their wide receivers, that's where they get in trouble. And I think Chip Kelly has that in him at times where he kind of gets that, not arrogance, but kind of that stubbornness. Sarkisian has it at times as well, right? But if you have that stubbornness that Chip Kelly has at times where he's just, I'm going to outrun it. You know, that's kind of his DNA. That's where he gets in trouble. He's got to utilize the best player on the field, and that's Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, you're right about that. They also got to stop the counter for some reason. That they've been running a lot of counter lately. 50% of their runs actually in the playoff games have been counter. Super chat here, David Bayer. Thank you very much, David. We appreciate it. Says September, October, Quinn, Sark seemed to spread it around in the passing game. Now Golden Helm show. What happened to number 1, number 5, number 11, and number 0 at wide receiver? Yeah, I just think they finally, CJ, found out not who they trust the other guys too, but who they trust most in clutch, critical moments, right? And that's Golden and Helm.
Yeah. Hey, look, you know, to your point, or to your question, David, number 1 left. So there goes that. Number 5 Ryan Wingo actually had a couple of receptions, I believe 2 really big key receptions to put Texas in position to kick field goals late in that fourth quarter. He had a 26-yard reception on a quick slant. I liked that. He's been really good, Rod, in the quick slant game. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the fear of going deep. He's a physical body. He catches and runs on the fly very well for his youth. I'd like to see more of that. The quick slants worked very well against Arizona State. You know, the curls, the slants, the outs, whatever it was. The short intermediate game worked very well against Arizona State. Will you have time? Will you have the pocket? You got to be really good in those short kind of ranges. And I look at Wingo to be that guy. And then I'm going to put the call in right now. So write it down, jot it down, take it to the bank.
Boom.
DeAndre Moore scoring a slot fade in this game. I think that's going to be a way that Texas can utilize, especially in the upper red, maybe the 25-yard line or so. When they get to that area, DeAndre Moore has been very good from that slot fade position. We've seen it a couple times, most notably against Vanderbilt. That's where I'm calling my shot. He's getting in the end zone today or on Friday.
He is your best deep threat, at least most efficient, I believe. He's got 10 deep targets. He's got 5, I believe, 5 receptions on those 10 deep targets. So he is your best threat throwing the ball deep. He's got, I believe, a couple of touchdowns, 3 touchdowns actually on deep passing. So it's a good call. All right, we got a recruiting nugget here we're going to get to before we end the live stream and get to a couple of these super chats here. But just let's hit Texas football. Hooray-o. Thank you. We appreciate the super chat. Jay McDonald plays star a lot with Taft and Makuba at safety against ASU. Feels like we will see that again to be big for run plus ability to bracket and cover. That's a good point. That's their big nickel, and we hadn't seen a lot of them playing big nickel, which essentially big nickel means 3 safeties on the field. I do wonder if CJ, if they put them out there, they got to be strategic and they better be careful situationally, because if Ohio State sees it, they're definitely going to try to exploit that. Not that Jelani McDonald can't cover, but if he ends up on Emeka Egbuka or he ends up on Jeremiah Smith, who's in the slot 30% of the time in the playoffs, that could be a problem. Yeah,
I totally agree. And look, I do think you're going to see a lot of Jelani in this game. Jelani's not bad in coverage, Rod, right? You spoke about it. He's a guy that can get out to where he needs to be, right? He was a safety. He was a cornerback in high school. He went to the All-American Bowl down in San Antonio his senior year of high school as a cornerback. So that kind of speaks to where his mindset has always been, I guess, coming into college. Obviously, they've used him more as a true safety since he's been at Texas, but he can certainly play with the best in the country at a cornerback spot. What's going to be really interesting is when you have to juggle playing that close to the line of scrimmage, but you also have to get out on a Jeremiah Smith or a Emeka Egbuka while reading a deep play action. Can you do that if you haven't been able to do that all year, right? He's kind of been that one of those center fielders for the Longhorns back deep at safety. That's another challenge. And I think that'll be something that they test if he's in the game versus maybe just going right at the nickel or star or whatnot if Gilbo was in the game.
Yep, I totally agree with that. Let's thank our last sponsor of the evening, our friends over at South Point Dodge. Hey, Texas football fans, you can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. They have over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including a great selection of Ram 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is your one-stop shop. And also, they have right now a great deal happening with over 50 Ram 2500s, all marked down with huge savings right now at South Point Dodge. So you can go see their fantastic inventory and all that great selection for yourself in person off I-35 in South Austin, or you can go online to look at their inventory there as well at southpointdodge.com. Remember, southpointdodge.com. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is your one-stop shop. Austin's automotive everything, southpointdodge.com. And we appreciate them for being a sponsor here of On Texas Football and sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. All right, CJ, we'll get to a couple of questions before we're done for the evening, but there is a recruiting nugget that I think I know there's not a lot of going on in recruiting, but it may be something that you are willing to share with the people.
Yeah, so right now, Texas obviously preparing for the college football playoffs, the semifinal. Coaches who their seasons are already over, they're out on the recruiting trail, right? They're going school to school in high schools, getting some FaceTime, shaking hands with a lot of these big-time 2026 and 27 recruits. Texas unable to do that, obviously. Bigger stakes are at hand, right? They're preparing to lift a trophy, right, on Friday and so on and so forth. So that kind of puts them behind the 8 ball, right? They're unable to go out to the recruiting trail and get on the road and see these kids, but they're sending out player personnel guys. And I think this is really interesting, right? This is the first time that we've seen it from Texas. A couple of guys of note. The first is, our Jerry Hamilton's been on the road as well. He was out at North Crowley. He got to see John Turntine. Expect a video coming tomorrow, I believe. But he saw player personnel director John Michael Jones, and he saw the director of high school relations, Jamal Finner, both exiting North Crowley High School. So Texas is making it apparent that they're out on the road today. Jimmy Youngblood was out at Fort Worth Brewer as well. There's a connection there with one of the 2027 offensive tackles in the Forney area out there. So Texas, I know it's not the overall, big names of a flood of choice of Sarkisian making the rounds, but they're still finding ways to get out to the field. Not during the media or availability today, Rod, I was able to ask Coach Flood about that, say, hey, is it that much of a disadvantage that you can't get out there? And he said, no, we're one of 4 teams in the country. And I think every coach in the country would trade the position that they're in for where I am right now. Final 4 teams in the country. It doesn't give you an opportunity to go out and recruit, see kids face to face like some of these other programs. Is that a challenge that you'll have to overcome, or is it enough saying, hey, this is the Final 4 team in the country when recruiting with them? And
I usually tell them, I say, hey, I know there's a lot of coaches out right now, but we're still playing. They usually get the point. So, the guys that we're recruiting, the ones we've been recruiting for a while now, they've been to our campus, they've been to games, that. So we've got a pretty good relationship with those guys, and they understand. And I think on some level they're excited about our program because, for 2 years now, we're sitting here in the Final 4. So I think, it certainly presents a challenge. You don't have the contact maybe in person that other schools are having, but I think, if you gave any coach in the country the choice, they'd certainly rather be playing.
Right.
Damn right. Easier to recruit to that, right? And I like the cowboy hat too. Cowboy hat is smooth. That was nice, right?
He and PK had the hats on. He said, what? When we're in Texas, we got to wear the hats. I'm like, where has this been for the last 4 months?
Hey, I like that swag. I like that kind of swag, man. I like that kind of swag.
The saying, Rob, look good, coach good, huh?
Damn right. That's the same. So that real life cowboy hat, yeah, man. That was, they probably got a real nice cowboy hat. I think it's probably nice and swank. All right, Ward Penguin 4. Thank you for the super chat. Says, why is our O-line so inconsistent? Maybe the best on paper. More finalists, A&M and Clemson, etc. Then there's Georgia twice, and Arizona State with no run game and many sacks. Yeah, I'm hoping the injuries. Because the 2 of those 3 that you're mentioning there at the end, you did not have your full complement, right? You lost Kelvin Banks for a game, SEC title game, and most of the A&M game, actually. But Trevor Goosby's been amazing, by the way. So not there was a lot of drop-off there. And then you didn't have Cam Williams in that Arizona State game because he sustained injury. But I'm hoping that was it, CJ. I'm hoping that compliment, that was kind of it.
Yeah,
maybe that's why the O-line struggled.
It is pretty interesting how it goes so hot and cold, right? I've never seen something that drastic, right? For the most part, you get kind of a median, level of rush success for an offensive line on a game-to-game. Maybe you break out, maybe you get limited. Texas has done that basically the whole year, where they either have a great day on the ground or it's always just hey, we'll get through the week and we'll be back at it next week to get better. Texas has to be able to run the football. I don't know, Rod, if there's any one tangible bit of evidence that you could point to and say this is what's going to dictate whether or not there's success on the ground or not for 60 minutes. If there is, I haven't seen it. And if there is, I think Coach Flood would have figured that out and got that right. But I do think getting Cam Williams back in the lineup will help. Again, look at where most of that success came against Clemson early on. It was off of the back end of DJ Campbell, the right guard, and at right tackle, Cam Williams, the 2 of them with a Gunnar Helm in there to help, kind of create some of those lanes. That's where Texas had a lot of success. And getting Williams back in there, I think, is going to have a great benefit for the Longhorns on Friday.
Yeah, I will say that, toward the end of the game, though, in those clutch moments, that was pristine protection from the offensive line. And the run game is an issue because it's strange that for big humans, they can't run a lot of gap power schemes, that they're really good running zone and wide and blocking wide zone. And when a team matches up well with that and stops their wide zone, Texas can't just come back and say, no, we're going to run right downhill on you because we got bigger humans. They don't do that very well. And to me, it's strange. It's like seeing that very tall person that can't play basketball. It's like seeing that person, guy in high school who's like 6'7", and he just couldn't. You're like, you can't even just lay it up there. You can't do nothing. Like, nah, it's not what I do.
Your buddy with the big hands that can't catch, and you're like,
yeah. That's right, honestly. But no, I mean, so it's weird. I think that's going to be the next phase of the O-line. They got to be able to pivot to power, counter, and gap schemes when teams stop their wide zone. And that's what Georgia did. That's what Arizona State did. And they literally can't do anything else. It's like, well, you got to be able to impose your will in the run game. So I think that's the next step for them. We'll see. I don't know if that'll happen against Ohio State. All right. A couple more questions, then we'll get close to the end. We'll end our live stream. Real quick, we'll go rapid fire here. Where is the On Texas Football tailgate on Friday? Thanks. Ooh. We will get some details to you about that, MJF, because I don't know. And also I'll text Bobby and see if there's something going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Okay. We'll do some research, MJF. Stay tuned. We know you always do. Thank you for that. And Matthew
somewhere warm.
Yeah. Christo Driscoll says, why do you think Texas chose the Icy Whites? First of all, they look good in the Icy Whites, and I think they chose the Icy Whites because they like the road attitude. They have the road mentality, us against the world, and you're basically playing in Texas, so you get the benefit of having both home and away. You get to wear the Icy Whites. The Icy Whites look better. If you ask players what they want to wear, they'll always say Icy Whites. Every generational player, going back to Jerry Gray to Rod B to all the guys now, the Icy Whites, man. Sorry, I know that I love to burn orange, but the Icy Whites are the cleanest uniform out there in college football, in my opinion. Tyler C. Rod, what are your keys to the game in 3 phases? Defense, stop the run with a light box. Offense, use all the tricks that you learned in the Big 12 to defeat the 3 high. And have a substitute when your run game doesn't work, because I don't know if it will. And special teams.
Don't be dumb.
Yeah. And don't fall for the fake. All right, be ready for the fake.
I'll add one as well. Just kick it straight.
Kick it straight. Yes, please. Oh, Bert Auburn, shave the head. What if Bert Auburn comes out with a shaved head? They don't get Longhorn fans pumped up. He comes out there and just takes it out. He's like, I shaved it because I want to break the curse.
Rod, if he comes out with a shaved head, I'm putting every dollar I got on his over, whatever the prop field goal is. He's back if he does that. 100. Quinn made the change. Lengthy hair, Bert Auburn can make the change.
I agree. Jay Dobbs, did Texas do anything on defense against Howard in years past that worked? Can we break it out early, Howard? And Howard thinks, oh, no. It's different offense, so I don't know if it applies. He's playing with better talent in a better system, and he's a better quarterback right now. He's playing better, too. Yeah. So, Jay Dobbs, I don't know if it applies. I don't know if it's applicable. For Will Spill the Pill, the nickname he earned with Rod B. Eric Mitchell says, thanks, fellas. Y'all are the best in the business. No, thank you, Eric Mitchell. Thank you, and thank each and every one of you guys for all you guys do. David Q. Williams, what is your view of the Ohio State linebackers? I think they are good, but unlike Georgia, I don't view them as a dominant difference makers. I think that position group can be exploited by Texas. Gunnar effing Helm. If they can, Gunnar Helm's the guy. All right? I mean, that's and don't wait until late in the game like they did against Arizona State to get him involved. 3 of his 4 targets came in the last 5 minutes of regulation and in overtime. So Gunnar Helm, baby. Eric Mitchell says, how about Khalid Lockett burning A&M DBs all day? TJ. Oh, that happened?
Khalid and Dalen McCutcheon both had really strong days down in San Antonio at the All-American Bowl practice number 2. Khalid especially. Look, I knew he was a big play maker down the field, but I mentioned this yesterday with you. I didn't realize how refined of a route runner he was. He has really impressed me. Both of them have been really good. Again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it until he gets on campus. But Dalen McCutcheon, his route running ability, I think it's going to be second to none whenever he steps foot on campus.
I like that.
But both of them have been balling, so great to see.
Thank you, Eric Mitchell, for the super chat. Very kind of you. Dean, you win the toss. Do you want the ball or the first or the second half? Good question, CJ.
I think at the early part of the week, I was kick. Now I think you have to take the ball and prevent Ohio State any chance you can from getting off to those quick starts.
That is honestly, that's the best answer I've heard. I agree with you, CJ. That's money. I agree with you. Yep. Just to play people away almost. Yeah.
Right. What did you say yesterday about it? It was like, you can fight Mike Tyson with the best game plan you have, but you got to get through the first round. Ohio State's very much the same way because 21-0, 14-0 in their 2 playoff games. They've knocked teams out in the first round.
Yeah, it's a good point about that one. And my man CB. Oh, so in your Akina voice, advice to Baron. JJ, you gotta step it up, man. You're the best in the business. To beat a man, you gotta beat the man. And over there, he thinks he's a man. But get him, man. You gotta show the world, man. You show the world what you're made of. There you go. It's my Aikido voice, right? I always
You're a
heard
brick wall.
All right. Thank you guys for all the super chats and the questions. Thank you, CB. CB showing up in the clutch like that. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you, CJ, for all of the nuggets of wisdom, and thank you for all the hard work. Matthew behind the scenes, he's the real MVP. So, folks, please show some love to Matthew. Thank you to our friends at Duck Camp. Once again, they're sponsoring all of this week's live shows as we preview the college football playoff matchup between Texas and Ohio State. Oh, man. I got to tell you, I'm going to end up picking Texas by the end of this damn week just because I'm hyped already about Texas pulling it off. But, yes, thank you to Doug Cap. We appreciate you guys, all of you guys out there. And until tomorrow, we'll be kind of the same schedule as usual. We'll have the Coffee and Football at 8 a.m. And then we'll also have the Winning Drive, all right, coming up at 3:15 with Coach Shipley and myself and CJ Vogel. And then on Friday, it's game day, baby. We will do research and find out if there's any on Texas football tailgate or something like that. We'll find it out. Thank you guys for all you do. And until next time, hook 'em horns.